Hello everybody, myself Vandana Yadav. I'm working as a legal intern with Lexis and Company. And in the last video, I discussed about judicial review. And in this video, I'll be talking about judicial activism, which is another term, a term which is more recent than judicial review. Judicial review is much older. It came to judicial activism came to India in the 1970s with the contribution of some very eminent jurists like Justice Krishna Iyer, Justice P.N. Bhagwati, Justice O. Chinnappa, Justice D.A. Desai. Basically, these were the people who laid the foundation of judicial activism in India. This is also known as judicial dynamism. This term denotes the proactive role of the judiciary, the proactive role played by the judiciary in the promotion of justice in the society and in the protection of the rights of the individuals or the citizens of India. Judicial activism is the antithesis of judicial restraint, and which means the self-control which is exercised by the judiciary. So we will discuss the term what is judicial activism. Judicial activism is a way of exercising judicial power that motivates the judges to depart from the normally practiced strict adherence to judicial precedents in favor of progressive and new social policies. So I will repeat this, that in favor of progressive and new social policies. It is the practice in the judiciary of protecting or expanding individual rights through decisions that depart from established precedents or are in opposition to the supposed constitutional intent. For example, PIL, public interest litigation, is an outcome of judicial activism, and this is the most popular form of judicial activism in India. Why judicial activism is justified? Why do we need judicial activism? First of all, the first point is that sometimes there is a near collapse of the responsible government when the legislature and the executive, they fail to discharge their respective functions. The second is that the citizens of the country, they look up to the judiciary for protection of their rights and freedoms, leading to a tremendous pressure on the judicial system of India. The third is judicial enthusiasm, that is, the judges like to participate in social reforms and take place in the changing take place in the changing times. The fourth is legislative vacuum. This is one of the reasons why judicial activism became a part. That is, there may be certain areas which have not been legislated upon, so we need some activism in that area from the judiciary. It has been observed that certain eventualities may be conceived when the judiciary may have to overstep its normal jurisdiction and intervene in areas otherwise falling within the domain of the legislature and the executive. When the legislature fails to discharge its responsibilities. In case of hung legislature, when the government is too weak and insecure, those in power may be afraid of taking honest and bold decisions in the fear of losing their power, where the legislature and the executive fail to protect the basic rights of citizens like the right to live a decent life, where the court of law is misused by a strong authoritarian parliamentary party government for ulterior motives. Let us come to the activators of judicial activism, some social or human rights activists who activated judicial activism. The first is we have civil rights activists, we have consumer rights groups, we have people rights groups, we have bonded labor groups, we have citizens for environmental action, we have rights of child groups, we have custodial right groups, we have media autonomy groups, we have assorted individual petitioners, we have women rights groups, and we have poverty right groups. So there are many areas which have been not legislated upon in India by the legislature, and therefore arose the need for judicial activism. But along with these pros and advantages and aid of judicial activism in India, we have an eminent jurist, Upendra Baxi, who has pointed towards some of the fears which come with this judicial activism, like ideological fears. Are they usurping the powers of legislative or executive? Epistemic fears. Do they have enough knowledge in economic matters or scientific matters? For example, Manmohan Singh in financial matters. Do we have such an economist in the judiciary. The third is management fears. Are they doing justice by adding this kind of litigation workload to a situation of staggering growth of arrears? And the fourth is democratic fears. Is a profusion of public interest litigation nurturing democracy, or it is depleting its potential for the future? So there are some fears, and we are left with some questions to find out that is judicial activism really assisting, or is it not assisting and creating problems? We'll be talking about judicial restraint now and how judicial activism is different from judicial restraint. So the contenders of judicial restraint say that the role of judges should be scrupulously limited. Basically, they are against judicial activism, and their job is merely to say what the law is according to the contenders of judicial restraint. The job of the judges is merely to say what the law is, leaving the business of lawmaking where it properly belongs, that is the legislators and the executives. According to them, each one has to do their share of work which has been given to them, and not overstep in somebody's area. Under no circumstances should judges allow their personal political values and policy agendas to color their judicial opinions. So that's what that's what the contenders of judicial restraint say. Now we will end up the video with some observations which have been made by Supreme Court. So one of the bench said that, quote, judges must know their limits and they must not try to run the government. They must have modesty, they must have humility and not behave like emperors. Judicial activism should not become judicial adventurism. ऐसा ना हो कि ये अपने एम्बिट से इसका अनड्यू एडवांटेज लें और ये जुडिशल एक्टिविज्म की बजाय जुडिशल एडवेंचरिज्म बन जाए. Adjudication must be done within the system of historically validated restraints. Another bench said that the courts must not embarrass administrative authorities. It is like making them feel that they are not able to do their job properly, and must realize that administrative authorities have the expertise in the field of administration while the court does not have that. The remedy is not in the judiciary taking over the legislature or the executive functions, because that will not only violate the delicate balance of power enshrined in the Constitution, but also the judiciary has neither the expertise nor the resources to perform these functions. And this is how I will end the video. However, if done in limit, judicial activism is a very bold step and a very needed step for India. Thank you so much.